Hi guys, it's KnightWing DM again, Phil. I wanted to talk to you guys about a very important topic, DM's role-playing NPCs, specifically iconic NPCs. My favorite iconic NPC is Strahd von Zarovich. I've had an affinity for vampires since I was a kid, very interested in the lore and what makes them tick, who was the first one, and so on. So it was only natural that when I started playing D&D, it kind of fell into that genre as well. When Strahd first, the Ravenloft module first came out, I6, I was one of the first people in the area, I'm sure, to buy it. I was so enamored with it. Played it, ran it, wasn't all that great at it, had a bunch of friends, played it, ran it on a Halloween night for the first time. Didn't do that great of a job because, well, I didn't really have much time to read it before I went to play it. Plus I was a kid and hadn't been playing, for more than a few years. Like I said, I started in 78 rather. I think Ravenloft came out in 83, so it was a few years there, but still. Was a young kid, and it was more about just kind of following the module. Well, there's been, obviously, as you all may know, several inceptions of Strahd since first edition. There was a second edition House of Strahd module that came out, and then the Ravenloft box set, and then third edition it was Expedition to Castle Ravenloft, which is kind of a throwback to the original, with different adventure arcs that you can take. So the book, I think, came out in the 90s by P.N. Elrod, called Strahd. I read it in 2.5 days. I got it the day it came out and was so enamored with it. And it's not that thick of a book. I have the hardcover here somewhere, the original one that I bought from Books A Million. I have it around here somewhere. I can't remember what I did with it, but it's it was basically my Bible on Strahd, and I actually took it and used it as a module of sorts. The picture you see behind me, if I can do this, I'm looking at this reversed. The picture you see behind me hanging on the wall is a picture of Coleman Sunstar, a signature character of mine from first edition. I actually took and had Strahd's army go through Theon, which is Coleman's kingdom, in the Forgotten Realms, and help Coleman stave off his evil twin brother who was trying to take over the throne, because they were Strahd's armies they were there for a season, or at least until the winter had passed and they could pass through the mountains. Anyway, the characters at that point, the players joined Strahd's army in Theon, and they went with him to Ravenloft and helped him win the war to where he took over, and they were there when he changed. Well, I took Strahd and I changed the direction of him after that, because after reading the book and getting a real good in-depth look at his personality as a human, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So that, combined with him, helping Coleman save his kingdom, I took that and went, okay, well, let's take Strahd, and instead of making him just a challenge for the players to overcome, let's make him a reoccurring character. Well, I had to give him staying power to do that. I made him a lot older than he's indicated in canon material, by about 2,000 years. He's about 2,500 years old. And made him have remorse for what he did. Now, if none of you know the story, or some of you don't know the story rather, Strahd killed his brother so he could win the love of his brother's betrothed, Tatiana, who then killed herself because of the things that Strahd did. Second edition explained it as an unknown evil entity. I think later on they called it, or maybe it was the first edition, called it an unknown evil entity that gave him his heart's desire, which would have been Tatiana, and not to age one more day because he had some mortality issues as he got older. But you know, Tatiana threw herself off the wall, the low wall of Ravenloft, and her body was never found. So I wanted to take him and let you know he's damned, but maybe there's hope for him whenever his existence comes to an end if he does enough good. Now his alignment hasn't changed, but he's torn. He's torn between having remorse for what he's done and being the monster that he is. Theon has an issue. He will go and help them if Coleman calls for him. Of course, Coleman has ascended since within the past couple of months, and I can get into that later. But you know, I took the point is I took this iconic NPC and I made him mine. I gave him the personality I wanted him to have. I felt that would be in depth and foster role playing at the table. I made him very, very powerful, so the characters would understand at the outset. You know, you go attacking this guy, you're signing your death warrant. There's no point in even trying. He's not here to fight. He's here to either supply information to you, help you out with an issue, guide you down the right path, and that's more or less what he does. Is, you know, if it comes to it, he'll guide. He'll say, okay, take this road. Would be my best opinion for this. I don't make the mistake that some DMs have made in the past. I did when I was a lot younger, and I ended up getting out of that really quick because obviously it leaves a bad taste in the players' mouths for good reason. Where, you know, the NPC comes in and he saves the day. That's not the NPC's job. That is the character's job. They're the ones that are the heroes. But I did. I took him and I made him mine, and I went through a lot of effort to make sure that humanity, that they understood that he still had some humanity in there within his soul, no matter how damned he was. And the players loved it. They loved it. They ate it up. I wasn't sure that they were going to at first, but they loved it. They ate it up, and they went along with it. And he is still a part of my campaign world to this day. Now, with second edition and the Grand Conjunction happening and all that, I kind of, when third edition came out, swept that to the side. I mean, I still have a lot. I've still got all the information for reference material, but I kind of took that and swept it to the side. Where the demi-plane of Ravenloft isn't really a demi-plane anymore. I mean, Strahd, Ravenloft actually exists. It is a castle with a village Barovia. It is a kingdom, if you want to call it that, set in the Forgotten Realms in a mountain range, way out of sight. So that way he is still part of the campaign, but there's no dimensional travel that has to take place or what have you. But they had a lot of fun with it. I did too. I still do. I still use him at times. Though with Coleman's Ascension, and again, that's a whole different story. You know what? I'll save that for another time completely. If it's something you guys are interested in hearing about, Coleman, the Sunstar family line. I'm sorry, I'm looking at myself here. The Sunstar family line. If you're interested in hearing about those, just leave me a comment or something, and I'll do a video on it at some point. But you know, like I said, the idea behind this video is to possibly help people who DMs role play better with the NPCs that they use. The NPC that you use needs to have some sort of, in my opinion, to be effective, some sort of existence in the campaign for a reason. It's got to have a reason to be there, not just pop up for no reason and just throw, you know, spew out whatever. He's got to be there for a reason, either to guide the PCs down the right path. Maybe he's the local shopkeeper, and he's the one that the PCs deal with exclusively when they're in that part of your world. Whatever the reason, just make sure it's a reason. And stick to that. Now, that doesn't mean that that can't change over time, that his function can't change over time. But for the most part, you know, kind of have him be there as you know, you can be a confidant or somebody that they say, well, what's your opinion on this, or what have you. You know, I went through the pains of being a DM in the very beginning, where I'm running a module, and the characters try to go in one direction or another, and I don't allow them to do it because the module isn't, you know, it's like that's not what's next in the module. And I quickly learned that it's best to let the players do pretty much what they want, go where they want, talk to who they want, and you role play that to their benefit. My job as a DM is to make sure that the guys have a good time and to challenge them. If I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing my job, and I'm not having a good time running. So if you're running an NPC, a memorable one, okay, let's put it that way, a memorable NPC, flesh him out, get a real good idea about his personality, and build the components of that NPC around the personality. What do you want him to do? How do you want him to interact with the NPCs or the PCs? You know, how's he going to affect your campaign world? You need to kind of take all these things under consideration. There are several different NPCs that I have. One of them is a villain, and his name is Rennick. And get this, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this movie, but he's basically the guy from Rob Roy that what's his name? Tim Roth played. Archibald was the guy's first name. Cunningham is the last name, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head, but the same manner of speech, the same manner of standing, the same condescending tone. But he's a badass. I mean, when he fights with dual rapiers, and whenever he strikes, he's taunting the person. You know, maybe he's running the blade of his rapier through the shoulder of his adversary, and he's taunting the person at the same time. The PCs, or the players hate him. They hate his guts. Good. That's what he was meant to be for. Can he be killed? Sure, but he's one of those guys that he's very crafty, and his time's going to come, but not just yet. I have had one of my players vow, or had vowed in the past, and that if they ever got their hands on him, they would cut his head off and do unspeakable things down his throat. So it's something where if you can evoke that kind of emotion with an NPC out of one of your players, you're doing your job. You're doing really, really good. I tend to play an overview. I'll write down an overview of what I want to happen for the adventure, and then I'll let the PCs or the players carry it. You know, I'll lay down a basic path in front of them. Say, you know, you're looking for this item. This is the path there. What do you do? And they'll get together and they'll work on it and they'll figure it out. Something else too about NPCs like Rennick, they will cause a group to come together, cause the cohesion of the group to come together quicker than you could ever imagine. It's a lot of fun to watch. But anyway, it's my 2 cents worth. If it made sense, great. If it didn't, let me know. Like I said, as I said in my last video, I'm always open to constructive criticism. But please do leave a message, and you know, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel. It's only my second video. I've done two in one day, and I may do a third one tonight. It just depends. My normal gaming group isn't here tonight, so I have really nothing else to do. So good night for now, and like I said, hopefully I'll see some comments on the board. Take care, guys.